So, you want to get into 3D printing and painting, eh? Are you sure about that? Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to answer a lot of questions, but I'm going to answer the question that I've been getting more of than any other question out there. And that question is,
I'm a newbie. What do I need for printing and painting?
after about a few years of printing and over 35 years of painting, I'm going to help you today to get started. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and hit that notification bell, because I've got some pretty cool videos coming up to answer a lot of these questions just like this one. Not to mention, I've got some really cool projects coming up really soon. And you know, here on the channel, I like to print them big. So first things first, I'm going to go over what I have on my desk and what my setup actually looks like. Everybody's is different. Yours could be different, but all in all, this is how I operate on a day-to-day basis. Here we go. All right, guys and gals, so this is my workbench right here. This is one of two that I have. So as you can see, I'm working on a project right here. So I want to make sure that I have it in front of me. I've got it well lit. I can actually see everything that I'm doing, and I have everything in front of me that I need without having to get up and having to travel a little too far. So back here, I've got all my paints, or most of them. These are the ones that I use the most. These are all my Vallejos. I've got Citadels that I use, and I've got some Createx that I use. So don't let anybody tell you that you have to have every single paint under the sun, because that is false. Start out getting you a good starter set from a good company, and right there, that's half the battle as far as paint is concerned. Now I've got my brushes. These are my nicer brushes here. These are my detail brushes. This is my normal brushes, some ratty brushes and stuff. And I got my other brushes I should keep in a container, but I don't. And then my workbench is a little messy, but that shows you that I'm working. This is kind of an overview of everything. Down here I have my cure station, my UV light, of course trash can, and this is just my overall workbench. All right, so let's talk 3D printing. What exactly do you really need? Let's assume that you already got your printer and you got your resin and you got your basic essentials. So what are you really going to need in order to get you on a successful path to 3D printing? So first things first, you are going to need a lot of sandpaper. I would recommend in getting different grits, anything from a harsh grit all the way to a wet sanding grit. I use them all. I like to break mine up into smaller pieces because I like to get into tighter areas and stuff and doing a lot of detail work. Second thing is, you're going to need primer. This is the only two types of primer that I use. This is my Color Max primer. This stuff is really great for skimming models and putting a light coat on there, or just a basic coat on your model. The Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 actually is a high build primer. So if you're working in FDM, or if you have a lot of issues that you're trying to cover up imperfections, this right here will help you out. Don't use it too thick, but it does help out with high build areas. Another thing I suggest is this G tool here. I do have a link for one of these in the description in the bottom. I use this in a lot of my videos, and I have a lot of people that have turned on to this and really enjoy it. This really helps with a lot of your polishing and detail work. Of course, these all come in handy. You're going to need a pair of these in order to get supports off of your model. Usually you get these pretty much free whenever you get a printer. But if you have an old pair that is in need of replacing, make sure you do that. And you're going to need some glue. All I basically use is this Gorilla Glue here for small areas, and I use this Instaset right here as well. It will actually help set the areas very quickly. That way you don't have to wait on dry time. And this is my main go-to right here, this 5-minute quick cure epoxy. This is a resin and a hardener for larger areas. It will not wear off over time like super glue will, but this right here helps hold models like, it bonds really well. Another thing to consider when you're sanding also is 1, a well-ventilated area, 2, a respirator or at least a dust mask, 3, some eye protection. And number 4, a lot of patience. Another thing that you're gonna need is a lot of gloves. Now I will tell you, where I get my gloves at, I get them at Harbor Freight. These gloves normally sell for like 20 bucks for like 100 gloves, like at a Lowe's or Home Depot, or even online. If you go to Harbor Freight and catch their sales, you can get a box like this for $6 stinking. That's right. So I load up on a ton of these whenever these go on sale. So if you're near Harbor Freight, make sure you check them out. These are really good gloves. I've been using them for years. And $6 for 100 like that versus 20 something dollars. Hey, every penny helps. So those are really the basic essentials that you need in order to prep and primer your model and get it ready for paint. I do have a video above that you can check out about prep and primering your model. Goes really into depth on that. So check that out after you watch this video. All right, so let's talk about paint for a minute. So before the universe was actually made, there was a great debate on what paint is the best. To be honest with you, there are so many brands out there today that are just of caliber quality that are the best. The best thing that you can do is, first off, get what you can afford. Second off, look in doing research with what people are using. So for me, when I think of quality paint, I think 3 brands really come into mind, and that is Vallejo, Citadel, and Green Stuff. Of course, there are tons of them out there, so all you guys out there who use different kinds, don't come and track me down, because I mean, I understand there's a lot out there, like a lot. There are people out there who use these inexpensive, cheap craft paints and get really great results, so I can't really fault those either. When it comes to paints, I usually use Vallejo. They have anything from Game Color to already Model Air, which are good for airbrushing. They got their Panzer series. They have their standard model series. Also, Citadel has all kinds of layers and shades and just you name it, they have it. Different colors and everything. The difference between Vallejo and Citadel mainly is price. So here where I live, these usually run about $3.50 to $3.99. The Citadel basic paints run about $6.50. And like the shades or the bigger containers of different paints and stuff run about $8.50 to $9.50. Yeah, so that's a huge investment to get into painting, and it's a big price difference from your 99-cent craft paints that you can get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. But if you're on a budget, hey, get what you can afford. You can always upgrade later on once you get into it. My suggestion is do it on a budget, simply because painting and printing is time consuming. It's a lot of money up front when you buy the machines, when you buy all the supplies and everything. You buy the files, you buy the resin. So it's not for the faint of heart. So don't think that you're going to get into this on a nickel and dime budget necessarily. But when it comes to things where you can cut cost, my advice is to do so, at least until you decide whether or not that you're going to stick with it. One thing to keep in mind about cheap craft paints is it's very difficult to really thin them out, in my experience, to get them through an airbrush without a bunch of clogging. And that brings me to airbrushing. My last video kind of touched on a review of a new setup that I just got, so that is something you can go by as well. But again, do your research on that. We won't get too much into airbrushing or anything, because a lot of people can't afford that or don't want that in the beginning when they first get into 3D printing and painting. And to answer your question, is airbrushing better than hand brushing? The answer is there is no best. I mean, it's a matter of what you can utilize with your talents and what you feel like you can get better results. And I've seen some people do some really kick-ass work with just hand brushing. So the answer for me is no. There is no right or wrong when it comes to airbrushing versus hand brushing. It's all a matter of your preference and your experience with both. Now, of course, with paint, you're going to need what else? Brushes. Let's talk about that. Again, when it comes to brushes, there's a lot of myths out there. A lot of people believe in buying the most expensive brush because they do the best job. This is actually a pack of brushes that I bought on Amazon for like $15, and I've been using these for quite a while. These are very good detail brushes, and I will have a link to those as well in the bottom. But I also have other different brushes of different sizes, and a lot of these are junk brushes that I use for just putting on washes and a lot of dry brushing. But I also have my dry brushes here, and these are cheap makeup brushes. These help me do a lot of dry brushing, covering in more area. I also did a video on dry brushing as well that kind of goes over that. So again, check out my other video on dry brushing. So another thing that I have on hand is this small portable UV light. It's a pen light. But if you're going to be doing any type of resin welding or working with resin to fill gaps or anything, these really come in super handy. And they're not very expensive. They're like $12 to $15 on average. Again, affiliate link in the bottom. So also when it comes to paints, you may want to know how to thin your paint. Typically you can use water on a lot of these water-based paints. I also use this type of airbrush thinner right here. I use it for my airbrush, and I also use it to thin a lot of other paints as well that I'm hand painting. But as usual with paints, read the label and make sure what you need to use it. Is it water-based? Is it lacquer-based, which you would need a thinner or something to that nature? Make sure that you are reading the labels. So I should have mentioned it earlier, one thing that you may need when you're doing your resin printing is some sort of filler, because you will have gaps, you will have seams that you have to cover up. I recommend this stuff right here, which I've done a video on this before. It's a plastic wood filler. This is by far is the best that I have found. It's about $4 or $5. I think I got it at either Walmart or Lowe's, but I have used this stuff. I've passed it on to others, and they have also had great results. But you'll definitely need something like that if you want to cover up seams or whatever. If that's not your thing, that you don't care about seams and gaps, and you're painting it for your kid or something like that, you may not need any of this stuff. All right, so now you've painted your model and you're ready to seal it. What's sealing? Sealing means that you are putting a top coat on your model to protect the paint from wearing off or getting damaged or anything like that. Of course, it's not going to help if you drop your model. You're just totally screwed at that point. However, you can get an inexpensive and great top coat. I use this Color Max right here by Krylon. This stuff is like magic in a can. It accentuates colors. It makes them more vibrant, and it gets the finish that you're looking for. It comes in a flat, a satin, and a gloss, and I use all of them on all of my models, and I get an even finish. No bubbling, no streaking or anything like that. You got to make sure you use it right, of course. Also, I haven't seen anything better than this right here. I'll put this up against any kind of sealer out there on the market. I really like this stuff, and it's about $5 a can and goes a long way. And that really helps if you're on a budget. All right, so we covered prep tools, sandpaper, paints, we covered brushes, we covered a few extra things like that. Again, it's not everything. This video is not to get you totally maximized and go tens of thousands of dollars into credit card debt. These are basic essentials, and I'm probably forgetting some things. So if I do, comment below and remind this old guy right here, me, this dude, I left something out or something like that. But a couple things that are near and dear to my heart that I have to use, especially since I'm an old dude now, these optics right here. This is a lifesaver. If you want to get into really good detailed stuff and not miss a beat on any of this, these are essential. I look at them as essential, and they're inexpensive. 20 bucks, I think. You can get them at any craft store or hobby shop, or just a big, unbelievable help to me, and I'm sure they would be to you too. So as I said, there are tons of other things out there that you can get into, such as varnishes, inks, washes, different things like that. And that's something you really need to explore on your own. What this video was made to do was kind of show you the essentials and get you an idea of what you're getting into when you're getting into 3D printing and painting. My biggest suggestion is have fun. Don't go into this as a business right off the bat, because when you start talking timelines and different things of the nature where you are committed to a project, it takes the fun out and you will be totally burned out in a quickness. So everything that you invested into this hobby is going to be for nothing. Print what you want and want what you print. That way, keep it into your collection. It's something to be proud of. Oh, and one more thing. Keep logs of your work. What I mean by that is take pictures of what you've done. Put it on your phone, keep it on your computer. That way you can go back and look at your progress over time. If you keep doing this and researching and just looking like you're putting a lot of passion behind this, you will get better and you will put out some really top-notch models. I promise you that. And hey, if you're getting into this and you need a little bit more help, consider subscribing to my Patreon.
Yes, it's a shameless plug, I know.
We have a private Discord where we have a lot of builders and painters on there, and you can ask questions and have fun, show your work. And it's an easy way to get in touch with me if you need any help. And if you don't want to join the Patreon, perfectly fine. Support the channel by watching the videos, sharing the videos, and leaving a like or a comment or two below. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future videos because I read every single comment that goes in. All right, everybody, and I guess that's it. If you've been doing this for a while and this is kind of a refresher to kind of jog your brain a little bit, let me know below what you think. And if you're a total newbie and you're just really getting into this, I hope this has helped you out. And if this is your first time watching the channel, again, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell and leave us a like on the video. And again, if I didn't cover something that you think that needed to be covered, leave us a comment in the description below. And don't forget, get out there, create something, be safe, print, prep, paint, repeat. And until the next video, everybody, we'll see ya.